Picture this. Indonesia, the world's largest coal exporter, strutting onto the global stage as a climate champion. It talks the green talk. But behind the curtain, it's still burning coal like there's no tomorrow. Nearly 62% of its electricity comes from coal. So, what gives? Is this a bold energy transition, or just another masterclass in hypocrisy? Today, we dive into Indonesia's coal conundrum, where billions hang in the balance, and the clock is ticking louder than ever. Welcome to Indonesia's paradoxical power grid, a place where dreams of renewables collide with the stubborn reality of coal. The Just Energy Transition Partnership promises $20 billion to slash coal reliance. Sounds impressive, right? But here's the kicker. Which plants get axed first is decided by something called the Coal Asset Transition, a tool that weighs costs, emissions. Fancy name, vague process. Critics warn this could be less just transition and more just another boondoggle. Because let's face it, when has bureaucracy ever delivered clarity without chaos? Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Or should I say the volcano? Indonesia sits on 27.79 gigawattages of untapped geothermal energy. That's enough to power 27 million homes. But today, geothermal contributes just 3% of the grid. Why? High exploration costs, environmental pushback, and a regulatory labyrinth so convoluted it could give Kafka nightmares. Meanwhile, Qatar swoops in with $1 billion for a gas-fired power plant. Gas, really. It's almost as if someone forgot to tell them that clean energy doesn't rhyme with fossil fuels. Or maybe they just didn't care. Here's the dirty little secret nobody wants to admit. Indonesia's grid is a mess. In Java, it's 59% overcapacity. Meanwhile, 35 million people still live without electricity. Solar and wind need flexibility to thrive, but coal plants are as rigid as a bureaucrat at a budget meeting. The solution? A $10 billion grid upgrade. But who's paying? The JTP's $20 billion is mostly earmarked for coal closures, not renewables. And don't even get me started on captive coal plants, those off-grid monsters serving mines. They emit 1.2 billion tons of CO2 annually, yet they're conveniently ignored. Out of sight, out of mind, or just out of accountability. Enter Qatar, stage left, with $1 billion for a shiny new gas-fired power plant. Critics call it a fossil fuel bailout. Defenders say it's a stepping stone to green hydrogen. But here's the twist. The deal allows LNG imports if prices drop below 14.5% of Indonesia's crude oil price. Translation: if global gas prices plummet, Indonesia could lock itself into decades of fossil fuel dependency. Meanwhile, private financiers for the GTP are MIA. Why? Because the carbon credit methodology for early coal closures hasn't been approved. Voluntary credits might save the day, but MRV standards are about as clear as mud. Ah, capitalism, always finding ways to profit from chaos. Carbon credits, the ultimate modern alchemy. Turn pollution into profit. Indonesia's carbon exchange is now open to foreigners. But here's the catch. It's based on voluntary credits, not mandatory ones. Critics warn this could become a greenwashing paradise. The government wants 75 gigawatts of renewables by 2040, but its roadmap reads like a choose-your-own-adventure novel. Meanwhile, Pertamina quietly churns out green hydrogen from geothermal projects. Could this be the real path to decarbonization? Or just another act in the theater of climate politics? Stay tuned. Or perhaps stay skeptical. So, here's the takeaway. Indonesia's energy transition isn't about lofty rhetoric. It's about making three hard choices: grid flexibility, Retrofitting coal plants to play nice with renewables. Because nothing screams progress like teaching dinosaurs to dance. Captive coal reform. Dragging 1.2 billion tons of CO2 into the daylight. Transparency is great, unless you're trying to hide something. Scale up geothermal. Betting big on a resource that's 40% of the world's potential, but only 3% of its power. Call it irony or incompetence. The GTP's 20 billion is a start, but it's just one piece of a 50 billion puzzle. Indonesia's BRICS peers are watching. Will it pull off the green pivot, or remain the coal king of Southeast Asia? One thing's for sure. The clock is ticking, and the stakes couldn't be higher.